Alright, now that our animation is done, it's time to create the rendering. So as I said, we use a beach image. So I looked for a beach horizon image and I like this one. So I saved that image and we will go to a new physical material, double click on it, and I'm going to use rubber preset. Auto key should be off. So make sure that, alright, I'll delete that. It had some keys. Double click on it and make a rubber preset and make sure that the reflections are 0. We don't want any reflections, or maybe we can have some because at the beach the sand is wet and there can be some reflections. Let's see how the reflections work. Again, base color, general, bitmap, and use this. What I did was in Photoshop, you can see that there is not enough beach area for the ball to bounce. So I went to Photoshop and I'll show you how I made it big. I'll have to download the image again. Save image as, name it beach. File open the beach image. Okay, so I need more sand at the bottom, so I go to image, canvas size, right? And I'll click on the top and here I'll type 85. So I get this extra space here. I'll select the sand area and then the rest of the white area. Go to edit, fill, and we are going to use content aware. So it will just calculate all these pixels here and fill it with those colors. Oh, it got some waves with it, so we'll have to select that. Maybe a little bigger area. And then go to edit, fill, content aware again. And same thing here. Edit, fill, content aware. Okay, and save that image. So you got more area for the ball to bounce there. Okay, so back in 3ds Max, I got that file up there. So I'll select the plane, assign material to selection, right click, show shaded material. So we got this, and I'm going to shift rotate that image with angle snap on, so I can get it 5 degrees increment to make it 90 degrees. And now I'll move it where the horizon is and move it down. Okay, and then I can scale this long and scale this long as well. So move it back, match the horizon. Okay, now we will add a camera. So go to camera, physical camera, and click and drag to add a camera. Then the perspective becomes camera. Move the camera slightly up, and then you can move the camera and the target up. Actually, we want this to be seen. Alright, now physical camera will go to show save frame, so we will know what is getting rendered. Then go to render settings. We are using Arnold renderer, so I'll make it Arnold renderer. Output size is going to be HDTV, and we'll type in 720 here. So it's 720 by 405, and then you can see what is getting rendered. Now if you select the ball and go to motion panel, you can now move your camera to control and see what is going to happen. So the ball is outside and then it is hitting the ground and it's going to stop there. Okay, so the camera should further go to the left. The plane should go to the left. And the whole thing should go back so the ball is bouncing on the floor. Okay, so now you can see that there is sky, there is beach. If you want to further move, see more of the beach and the ocean, you can see that the camera is moving. Okay, if you want further move this out, you cannot further move it out unless we scale it in this direction, and then it can go further out. Okay, so our setup is now done. We will move on to the lighting. Okay, so save this file. I'm not going to save it because I've already saved it once. Now if you render this using Arnold, you'll see that it is quite bright, and what we want to do is we want to animate the water. So what you can do is auto key on, you can simply move it in the front, and you can even scale it. So there's a movement in the water. Okay, so very slight you have to do because it's a very small animation, so we don't want too much of that. We can simply play this animation. You can see that the ball is bouncing and the water is moving. That is excellent. Alright, so that part is done. Auto key is off because we are not animating anything anymore. We need to, it's over. We'll add lights now. So if you go to lights, again create panel, the first one is geometry, second one is shapes, third one is lights. We use this for cameras, this is for lights. You go to Arnold lights, there's only one option, but if you select that, there are other options here. The first thing we're going to do is add a sky dome. Okay, the sky dome just has to exist in the scene somewhere, and then if you render it, everything is quite blown too bright. So we will go and turn the exposure down to 1. Okay, and then render it again, and now it is still too bright. It is rendering, but I'm not going to finish the render because I can see how it starts. I'll cancel it. Now the other thing you need to do is there is exposure value for the lights. Okay, if you see the light, it has intensity and exposure. Okay, intensity doesn't make much of a difference, but exposure makes a big difference. So we'll leave the intensity to 1 and work with the exposure. Because it was too bright, I made the exposure 1, and still it is too bright, so the camera also has exposure value. For some reason, the exposure value of the light, if is high, then the scene becomes bright. But if the exposure value of camera is high, the scene becomes dark. So we look for the EV value or the exposure value of the camera exposure, it is 6. So if you make it 12 and render it, I thought I had locked. Okay, camera view, lock it, render it. Okay, now it is too dark, but I will go with it. That is fine. What I will do is I'll bring the ball on the here and then we'll render it. So you can also see the ball. So that's the ball. There are shadows. It is too bright, but the shadows are quite soft. So to have some nice shadows, we will create another Arnold light and we are going to use, instead of a sky, distant light. Okay, so it works as a sunlight. So I'll drop a distant light in the top view, and in the left view I'll move it up in the air. So, and then once we add the distant light, we can render it and see how it goes. And now we have shadows, but scene is still too dark. So I'll cancel it. Go to modify panel to the for the distant light. The exposure value is 1, so I can increase it to say 3 and render it and see what happens. Now it is a little brighter. I'll cancel it, select our camera, and we'll bring this down to say 9. The exposure value of the camera is down, so you get bright scene. So now it is too bright, so you can select the light. So you can either increase or decrease the camera exposure value or the light exposure value and see what looks nice. So I'll make this 2. Okay, what if I make it 1? Not making much of a difference, so I'll select this and just increase it by 1, make it 8, or actually 10, because we want it darker. Okay, so this looks good to me, and I'm going to go with this. And now you can finish it off. I'm not going to let it render. Let us finish this rendering and see how it looks. Okay, so everything looks pretty good here. And then you go to render settings. We're going to say range 0 to 80, 720 by 405 is fine. Render output, go to files, desktop, wherever you want to save it, give it a name, ball bounce and roll, and save type. You can save it as a movie file, and then you can go to setup, and I'm using the MPEG 4 compressor, 24 frames per second, quality is best. And then you simply hit the save button and then hit the render button to see the animation being done. It looks like there's something at the bottom. The camera needs to be moved a bit, I think. No, it's fine. So you can start rendering. And once the rendering is done, you can play it in the player and see how the animation looks. Okay, so that's about it. Thank you very much. Here, one more thing is here it's going to show you how much time it is going to take for rendering, how much time it took for the last frame. So it takes around half a minute for one frame. So it might take about half an hour to render the whole. It will show you the elapsed time and the time remaining after the first frame is done. So let us see how much time it takes. So it's going to take 48 minutes to finish this render. Okay, then in the end you'll get the results. That's about it. Thank you.